Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Today we have two reasons for this video. This video exists for two reasons. The first reason, well, actually the second reason, the thing that we'll get back to towards the end, is that a few of you have won an award or prizes as a result of our Film February photo contest. And more than that, there's just some spectacular, beautiful imagery that I can't wait to share with you that hopefully you can find inspiring, if nothing else. We'll come back to that though. Before we get to that though, I want to talk about the subject of inspiration because it's a question that I've received many times, and I want to talk about it a little bit. As many of you know, we've had workshops both live and asynchronous. We do have a on-demand style workshop, a 6-week Zero to Hero workshop, and that does have an interactive component to it. And in those workshops, and also just in other places, like a while back, Azrael Knight had me on his channel for an interview, and whenever we do like question and answers or whatever, invariably people ask the question, where does inspiration come from for you? How do you get inspired? I have always really struggled with this question. Most of the time I've heard photographers answer that by referencing photographers they admire or respect with photo books and other things, and I don't get inspired that way. I don't want to discount anyone who does use photo books for inspiration, and because if that works for you and that gets you in a creative mode, inspires you to get out and shoot, that's awesome, that's great. It just doesn't work for me. And so I've had to ask myself many times, what does? Where does inspiration come from? Part of the problem I have is that being inspired is such a passive phrase. And I have learned over and over and over again that inspiration, for me, it's not something that happens to me unless I'm exerting a great deal of effort first. And that inspiration comes when I do a lot of work to get it. So let me tell you the first time creatively I was inspired by my muse, or what inspires me today, before I kind of answer the question. In 2005, DENAE and I took a little bit of a road trip to San Francisco. This is before we were married, before kids, before I got on my baby fat. And on that trip, it was, I don't know what, 12-hour drive for us. On the way back, while we were kind of exhausted and kind of in a little bit of a post-fun trip funk. We'd seen some friends, we'd had a lot of fun, and then on the way back we were you have that lethargy that sets in, kind of like we're just trying to get all the way back home, and everyone's a little bit down, the kind of a slump towards the end of a road trip where you just want to be home, you're tired. And in that funk, I wasn't paying attention to the gas gauge very well. I ended up having to stop at a town that I wouldn't normally stop in to find gas. And in that town, and I don't even remember what it was called, something like Battle Mountain or somewhere between Reno and Salt Lake City, it was just a little tiny town that was falling apart and had definitely seen better days, maybe a mining town or something like that. And while I was there getting gas and looking around, I had this huge urge or desire to explore the town, to just stop and just walk around, and even to get inside some of these buildings and talk to some of these people. It was kind of this compelling feeling of captivation with two sides of a town. The side of, well, back then I couldn't articulate. I couldn't say what is it that I loved about this town, but it was what today still inspires me about small towns. It's that struggling to survive and hang on, or giving up even in some cases, against nature's desire to reclaim what once was hers. And simultaneously, the way that I notice a lot of folks live in small towns where there's nothing to hide or cover up, where it's what you see on the outside of the home, the inside of their lives spills out to the outside. and I don't say that in a demeaning way. I say that in a way that there's an authenticity there that I don't see in the suburbs. And there's so much there to captivate. Those are two things that captivate me about small towns. I could go on and on about other things, but what I came away with, I was not a photographer back then, and what I came away with was a desire to explore and write about small towns in a fictionalized way, create stories of people who live there based on stories of people in real life. And the anthropologist in me, I studied anthropology in school, kind of dove into that. I wrote half of a novel and never finished it. But eventually, DENAE was a photographer before me. She got me into photography, and that became another way or another avenue for which I could explore and kind of, I don't know, scratch that itch or explore that muse. And so creativity is not hard for me to find, I guess, or inspiration, not hard to find. All I need to do is step foot in a town I've never been in, where it's not a suburb, and where things are just trying to hang on while nature is doing its best to make them fall back into a lower state of energy. So for me, that's totally inspiring, and I love it. And so other things that relate to that do inspire me as well. So books, movies. I like post-apocalyptic movies as a result, and books. Those have always kind of captivated me. You know, the World War Z's and the I Am Legends and the zombie apocalypses, but even the Road and some of those others. All of that stuff I find really interesting and gets me in that mode. So photography is not really one of those, although there are a few artists here and there that explore that side of thing. I don't delve into it too much because that's the art. I am a photographer, and if I study the work of other photographers, I'm afraid I'll become more like them. So yeah. Why is that? What does that have to do with Film February? Well, there's an exception to that, and that is, let me back up actually. Inspiration is not the thing that gets you out the door. That's what I've learned, or gets the camera in your hand. That's just hard work. Inspiration is what meets you halfway after you've put in effort. So for me, after all that hard work has happened, and then inspiration can come, that's when things come together in a way that what I'm looking for at that point, where inspiration or hard work come together, is seeking for scenes and photos that hum. And I use that term hum very intentionally, but I'm stealing it. I'm stealing it from my friend Peter Chelsom, who's a director and an artist to the core and a photographer and someone who I really respect. I'm going to talk about Peter and inspiration. This is kind of more of a teaser about some of that in a future video when I feel like my thoughts are in a state that can be packaged up in a better way. For now, I'm just kind of teasing a few things. Getting to Film February, I'll get there, bear with me. But a photo that hums, or a scene that hums, and you don't always know in the moment, it's when you pull that photo up later and everything kind of came together and it has a hum about it. What I mean by hum, or what Peter means by hum, is that the photo knows more than you do. You know, that's a term again he uses, and it really resonates with me. Where there's and people call that a story or telling a story, and I really hate that term. Oh, does it tell a story? Because a photo doesn't literally tell a story. Maybe obviously a film will, but a photo itself cannot tell a story. But it can allude to depth, and it can cause you to ask questions about what came before. Why is stuff like it is here? And a photo that hums, it has a few components and these are my words, not necessarily Peter's, but in my words, it's a photo that has a richness of something happened before, something's going to happen in the future. It's that if these walls could talk. That's what I'm looking for in small town photography. But even more than that, it clicks in place artistically as well, with lighting, technical composition, all of that stuff kind of fits together. And if you got that together, it's almost like a Stradivarius violin, and a professional violinist can tell a difference between, you know, a shoddy violin workmanship and something that hums, that resonates, where everything fits together in a way that produces more music than it could otherwise, or overtones, or whatever it is. And I believe that photos have overtones as well. And so when I see a photo with that hum, those overtones, that richness, then to me that that can inspire me, or I guess motivate me to remember what it's like to create that kind of work. And where I see that work a lot is, and where I go for that, I don't go to photo books, like I said, I don't follow specific photographers. I go to the photo awards. I look at awards every year, and not the landscapey stuff, although that's cool stuff, but I go to more of the photo awards where they explore the boundaries or other types of genres, and I find work that I wouldn't expect to see and that really resonates. And so for me, I've always wanted to have a photo contest for that reason, very selfish reason, because it's almost a more intimate way to receive that sort of inspiration. So that is why in this channel, we've kind of headed up or sponsored 2 photo contests. Of course, there's the Do Good With Your Camera contest. That's going on all year round, every year from now till whenever we can't do it anymore. And we're going to announce some more details on that later, but check that one out. But more specific to this video, Film February, which was an effort to do something different that I've never seen done before. This is an idea I had a while back, which was for you guys to take a whole roll of analog film and create an intentional a series of photos with it, and we would judge not based on any individual photo on the roll, but rather the roll as a whole, with all its quirks, with all its screw-ups, but hopefully with all of those rich points, with all of the humming that could be there. And I can tell you unequivocally that I have seen that in the work that was submitted. We got about 180 rolls of film that we had to go through, and DENAE and I judged, and then a bunch of other channels judged. You can go to the website filmfebruary.com to see all of the different judges and to see those videos of them coming out as they talk about their experiences and who they decided. Each creator is going to award one, or in some cases I think they're going to give multiple because they couldn't narrow it down, of their own award based on their own choice. And we've done the same. DENAE and I have gone through every single roll, and as hard as it was, we chose a couple, 2. She chose one and I chose the other rolls that we felt had the magic that really inspired and spoke to us. So we'll get to the 2 winning rolls, but first I want to share with you some of the other work that kind of the honorable mentions, those that really I feel deserve mention and to show to you guys. Not every roll, of course, qualified in my mind as being a potential winner for Film February because maybe they were randomly put together or they were put together on a photo walk, and it's very difficult to find great shots on a photo walk to fill a whole roll. It's very, very hard. But here are a few single shots that I felt really resonated or hummed for me when I saw them, even though I wouldn't have said that the whole roll would be a candidate. Now, there were several rolls that really appealed to my sensibilities when it comes to small town documentary photography. This roll by Andy Baldwin, for instance, really appealed to me for obvious reasons. And this Rural Decay series by Brendan Rutledge also I really found enjoyable. But Brian Smith really stepped it up to another level with his. While it is small town photography, sort of photo walk style, he obviously has a strong color theme going. And while not every photo on its own is strong, there are a few very strong photos, but more importantly, that blue just weaves itself through the whole roll, and I love that intentionality. Pablo also handles the photo walk issue very elegantly by chasing abstract geometric patterns with his roll. Again, this is great. This is a great example of the spirit of Film February. These medium format shots by Jeremy Mudd go very well together in a series. Very beautiful. I love the patience and the setting, the atmosphere, and the compositions. Pinhole photography has always felt to me eerie, and when I see kind of light and happy subjects with pinhole photography, it always feels wrong. Here, James has done a great job of picking subjects that lend themselves very well to pinhole photography, in my estimation. And while not every shot on this roll hummed or resonated for me personally, there were definitely a few standouts. I said earlier that you can't tell a story with photography, and Rod Stewart proved me wrong here with his roll. Tons of intentionality here as he quite literally tells the story of this ragged, castaway bunny that receives a second shot of being with a human, sort of Toy Story style. This is just great work, very entertaining, very well thought out. Love that he was able to capture this on one roll. Hard to do. Also extra credit for the Princess Bride shot. And while it does sort of hit you over the head, the intentionality is awesome, and again, very true to the spirit of Film February. Sabine did something that no one else was able to do, I felt like, with portrait photography. Portrait photography is almost harder than a photo walk in sort of a roll of film contest, because it's hard. As a ex-portrait photographer myself, it's really hard to be creative on the spot and think of unique compositions, unique ways to frame things. And these shots are all super creative, different ways of composing, different movements, different gestures with, I'm guessing, some women who aren't necessarily models, but done a great job. And this was a really great photo shoot. All around, just the creativity really impressed me. So while any one of those roll of films should have arguably won, and hopefully did with some of the other creators, I don't actually know what all of them have chosen yet. The two that resonated with us, I'll show you now. The winning roll for DENAE was by Gerardo Simonetto. These shots did something that neither of us have ever seen. Sort of a People of New York style shoot, but where shots were taken in triptychs. The head, the hands, and the feet. This is very creative and great intentionality and great use of one roll of film. I would suspect that were this a project that Gerardo was working on, this would take many, many rolls to produce the type of work that he would want to get kind of the right amount and mixture of interesting people with the interesting combination of face, hands, feet. But the execution of this one was very interesting, and as a study was very compelling. For DENAE, who uses photography as a way to connect with people, this instantly resonated with her. And for me, the winner was Josh Spice. This role captures a scene, a place, looks like a vacation maybe, to a log cabin. And while none of the photos in and of themselves would win any awards, what it did do as a whole was instantly place me there. I almost can smell the smells, the crisp day, hear the animals and the muffled sounds of nature with the snow falling, feel the crisp air. It really did bring me there, and that's hard to do. I feel like it's hard to take a scene, and most people will just take the obvious shots, but not here, not with Josh. He's done a great job of capturing the corners and the interesting beauty in the mundane of being in this spot. And again, none of these photos in and of themselves are spectacular, but as a whole, I just really fell in love with this place, this location, and what he was able to capture with what he had. This was an easy pick for me. So that's it. Congratulations to the winners, and not just the winners that we've chosen, but that other creators have. And really just big thanks for all of you who participated. Those that missed out, that thought this was pretty cool, but either didn't know about it or were too lazy this February, we're for sure gonna do it again next year. So plan on that. You've got some time, but and if film February doesn't appeal to you for whatever reason, consider our other photo contest, Do Good With Your Camera, which is all about finding ways to do good in your community for anyone around you, or documenting service and things being done in a good way. I'm not explaining myself very well, but go to dogoodwithyourcamera.com to learn more about that contest. In the meantime, I think that's it. Remember to do good with your cameras, you guys, and we'll talk to you again real soon.